So, we're going to get into a really powerful way to think about branding, and it's based on the work of Alexander Chernev. He's a marketing professor over at Northwestern University. It really tackles a core question that every single business has to ask itself. What do we actually mean when we say brand value? How does a brand create something real and meaningful for a customer? It's definitely not just one thing, and figuring out which levers to pull, well, that's the secret sauce to building a truly great brand.
Right, so here's the plan. First, we're going to start with the most concrete part of it all, functional value. This is all about what your product literally does. Then, we'll shift gears into the feeling side of things with psychological value. After that, we'll hit the bottom line with monetary value, the hard numbers. And then, we'll wrap it all up with what is, honestly, the most important takeaway, the strategic choice you are forced to make. All right, let's jump right in with the absolute bedrock of any brand, functional value. This is the stuff that's easiest to see and touch, but without it, nothing else really matters. It's all about performance and practicality.
Exactly. At the end of the day, functional value is just about utility. It's the answer to the customer's most basic question. Does this thing solve my problem? A hammer drives a nail. A minivan hauls a bunch of kids and groceries. It's about reliability, performance, all the tangible benefits. Honestly, if you don't nail this, you're not even in the game.
And when you look at how a brand actually creates this practical value, it kind of happens in three main ways. First, the brand just helps you find the thing on the shelf, basic identification. Second, it serves as a mental shortcut. It signals what kind of quality you should expect. And third, and this is where it gets really interesting, it can actually make you perceive the performance as being better. Let's make that real. For step one, identification. Just picture Tide. That bright orange bottle just screams laundry detergent from across the aisle. You don't even have to think, the brand saves you that mental effort. Now for signaling performance, think about DeWalt tools. That distinct yellow and black color scheme? It just communicates durability, right? It says professional grade. You haven't even picked it up yet, but the brand has already set an expectation of high performance.
And that signal can have this incredible halo effect, which is that third step, enhancing perceived performance. Think about this. A potential home buyer walks into a kitchen and sees a Sub-Zero fridge. They're not just thinking, oh, my milk will be cold. No way! Their brain immediately jumps to, wow, if they spent the money on this, the rest of the house must be built really well. The brand is so powerful, it lifts the perceived quality of the entire building. That is next-level functional value.
That Sub-Zero example is the perfect bridge to our second type of value, because it's not just about function anymore, is it? It's about a feeling. So let's talk about psychological value. This is where we move from what a product does to how a brand makes you feel. This is where the magic happens.
It really is. Psychological value is all about the cloud of associations that surround your brand. It's the identity, the story, the vibe. It's how a brand stops being just a thing and starts being a symbol for something way bigger. It's how you tap into who your customers are, or maybe more importantly, who they want to be.
And you can deliver this feeling in a few different ways. You can create straight-up emotional value. Like Allstate's, you're in good hands. That's not about insurance policies, it's about selling peace of mind. Or you can enable self-expression. Nobody buys a Harley-Davidson because it's the most efficient way to get from point A to point B. It's a statement. And then you have brands that align with social causes, like Tom's, which makes you feel like you're a good person for buying their shoes.
That self-expression angle is so powerful. Let's think back to Pepsi's old tagline, the choice of the new generation. They weren't just selling sugar water, they were selling rebellion in a can. They created an identity for young people to say, I'm not my parents, I'm part of something new. It was this perfect way for a whole generation to define itself. That's not a product feature, that's pure psychological value, and it drove massive growth for them.
But of course, value isn't always about these abstract feelings. So let's switch gears to our third type, monetary value. This one is all about the direct, cold, hard cash impact a brand has on a customer's wallet.
Right, and this works in two really distinct ways. First, a brand can create monetary value just by signaling a price point. Before you even look at a price tag, the brand itself tells you whether to expect a bargain or a splurge. But on the flip side, a powerful brand can create value by commanding a higher price, not just when you buy it, but also when you sell it later on.
And these two examples really show the two extremes, don't they? You've got Walmart, whose entire brand identity is built on signaling low prices. The value for the customer is the confidence that they're saving money. Then you have the total opposite, Hermes. They create value by being unapologetically expensive, which then creates this incredible secondary market where the product actually holds or even increases in value. It's a financial benefit, just delivered in a completely different way.
And that resale value can get absolutely wild. I mean, look at this. A 1962 Ferrari sold for over $48 million. Let's be real, that price has nothing to do with its functional value. It's not about the horsepower or how it handles. The value here is almost entirely monetary, driven by the brand's mystique, its history, its scarcity. Ferrari literally turned a car into a financial asset that competes with fine art.
It's the exact same story with something like a rare Hermes Birkin bag. It can sell for $500,000. Yeah, functionally, it holds stuff, but come on. The brand has created so much value that the bag's behavior is more like a stock or a bond. In these cases, the brand isn't just on the asset, the brand is the asset.
Okay, so we've got the three buckets: functional, psychological, and monetary. Which brings us to the real heart of the matter, the so what. Now that you know these exist, what do you do about it? How does this actually shape your strategy?
And this is the million-dollar question for anyone building a brand, isn't it? The temptation is to say, yes, we want it all. We want to be the best performing, most loved, and cheapest option on the market. But is that even possible? Can a single brand truly master all three of these at the same time?
The simple and kind of brutal answer is no, absolutely not. In fact, trying to do that is probably the fastest way to build a weak, confusing brand. And here's why. These value propositions are often mutually exclusive. They fight each other. The second you build your brand around signaling low price, like Walmart, you make it almost impossible to also signal superior performance or high-status psychological value, like Hermes. The messages cancel each other out. Good strategy means choosing what you're not going to be. It's about making a trade-off.
And so that brings us to the one question you really need to take away from all this. Ask yourself, of these three types of value, which one is my brand truly, intentionally building? Are you trying to win on function, on feeling, or on finances? Because if you don't have a crystal clear answer to that question, there's no way your customer will. And in a marketplace this noisy, a confused brand is an invisible brand.